Hi, how are you? My name is Nicolas Bernal. I'm a multimedia production student at the Sena Pitolito Huila. I'm going to present my product reviewed work, which will consist of talking about a product and making a comparison with it. Another one is, in this case, I will talk about cell phones like the Redmi Note 10 Pro and the Poco X3 Pro, which are two quite good mid-range cell phones that I will make a small comparison. They are not so different, but one does have more advantage than the other in terms of to system or camera. So I decided to make this comparison with these two cell phones. Okay, let's start. It is very good comparison for this work. On the left side will be the Redmi Note 10 Pro and on my right the Poco X3 Pro. Screens first, point to evaluate, very important position, and we are in contact with all day. Screen AMOLED 120 Hz up to 1200 nits of brightness versus IPS LCD of 120 Hz up to almost 400 nits. The difference between both teams is quite a lot. Both measure 6.67 inches in terms of size. It is exactly the same, but not in terms of quality. The panel is much higher in the Redmi Note 10 Pro, so the Redmi Note 10 Pro it's better in terms of a screen than the Poco X3 Pro, and in screen protection there is a minimal difference, in this case Corning Gorilla Glass 5 versus Corning Gorilla Glass 6 of the Poco X3 Pro. Here the Redmi Note 10 Pro is worse, but for very little than the Poco X3 Pro. Okay, Android 11 operating system with MIUI 12 of the two, but this is a modified version on the Poco teams that come a little different from the launcher, but they are quite similar. That's where it's point for both. Power of these processors, which is what most attracts attention above all. You have to choose very well, and it is a very important point. If you like to play and you are a gamer, I recommend the Poco X2 Pro. Since you are much better than the Redmi Note 10 Pro, but if you like photography and something a little more refined, I will recommend the Redmi Note 10 Pro, since in terms of camera, if the Redmi is better than the little one, the Poco X3 Pro has a Snapdragon 860 processor manufactured in 7 nanometers against the Redmi Note 10 Pro, and its Snapdragon 732G has in many other equipment manufactured in 8 nanometers. Definitely here the point and the points in terms of power, they will all be for the Poco X2 Pro, since it is pure raw power, and says it is better than the Redmi Note 10 Pro by quite a bit. The GPU of the Redmi Note 10 Pro is the Adreno 618, less than that of the Poco, which is the same Adreno but 640. Again, in terms of performance and games, the Poco X2 Pro is better than the Redmi Note 10 Pro. All devices have IP53 certification, which are only anti-dust and anti-splash. 5020 mAh battery in Xiaomi Redmi Note 10 Pro, fast charge of 32 watts that charges you 59% in 30 minutes and 100% in 1 hour, at the same as the Poco X2 Pro, only that there will be a small difference, and that is that it has 5160 mAh battery, but they are practically the same. Now, internal memory in both devices. In the Poco X2 Pro, you can get a version with 256 gigabytes of internal storage. In both devices they have 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 of storage. Now I will talk about the configuration of the lenses in the section in which the Redmi Note 10 Pro has advantage. On this side, the large 108 megapixel sensor, the other are 8 megapixel, which is the ultra wide angle, it's 5 megapixels macro sensor, and it's 2 megapixels depth sensor. Here the Redmi Note 10 Pro is better than the Poco X3 Pro, although in the front camera the sensor is better than that of the Poco X3 Pro with 20 megapixels. I will show you the comparison in some photos taken with both devices, in which you will see that the Redmi Note 10 Pro is better than the Poco X3 Pro in the camera section. This has been a small sample of what the cameras are and well the whole device, and this was my work. Thank you very much.